Welcome to episode 140 of the My 365 podcast series. Today's podcast is called How I Made £2.4 Million. This is a story I don't share that often, but one of our goals is to help people in life with the story that they're creating. And our business-focused podcasts are really designed to help people who are in business, who want to be more successful, or perhaps people who are just starting one. So much of business is around mindset. So in my story, I'm sure you'll take some inspiration, how I just took an idea and had the courage to follow it through until it became something that was worth a lot of money. And also some tools and tips and techniques and strategies that you can apply to your life today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by something we're launching later this year. It's a mastermind group. It's the Business My 365 Mastermind Group. If you want to register and find out how you can join this incredible small group of people, then literally go to mi365.me/business. That's mi365.me/business. Enjoy the show, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome to the My 365 podcast series. I'm absolutely delighted to have my friend and colleague, Mr. Ben Davis. Ben, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. I'm on fire right now. This is another one of our business-focused podcasts. We're all about helping people in all areas of their life, and I think business is an area that a lot of people really do need some help with. It's all about personal development, but personal development for your business. So, Ben, tell me, what have we been doing so far in terms of these podcasts, so far?
Yeah, small introduction to us and how we started this business and our goals and dreams and aspirations for what we want to do. But if you're listening to this podcast and you don't have a business, I feel this episode is applicable to everyone, really, because it's talking about the one thing that we all need to survive, which is the one thing we're also told not to talk about.
Yeah, money. Yeah, actually, it's really interesting because you just reminded me there are three things that we're all told when we're growing up, which is don't talk to strangers, money doesn't grow on trees, and what's the other one? Oh yeah, don't copy. It's like
religion.
Well, what about it? Don't talk about it. But definitely, we're all told don't talk to strangers, so we don't find out things, and we want to share with you. In fact, just before we came on air, I was talking to Ben about. This guy has not only helped other people be successful in their business, but I know you've got a unique story as well. Maybe we'll touch on that today or another time. But I know today we're going to focus on how, I made a couple of million by the time I was 34 years old. But the whole thing of don't talk to strangers. No, do talk to strangers because strangers can give you the answers. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Money doesn't grow on trees, but there's a lot of money out there, right?
For sure.
There's more people making $1 million in 1 to 2 years than there ever has been in the history of man, and there's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to do well in business.
Yeah. So I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions today. Because it's a great achievement what you did, and you play it down, and you don't often talk about it. So I'm going to get that story out of you.
Yeah.
But you touched upon it briefly just then. But for everyone who's listening, watching this on YouTube, how much money did you make at 34? So when you went to your bank account, I'm sure you did this. You typed in your PIN number either at the cash machine or you logged in. Was even online banking around in those days?
It's funny you say that because I know when I moved house and we moved here, we had to throw away a whole lot of stuff, and I found a check for a lot of money.
It was a check. Was it a check given to you by pigeon?
There was actually a few checks, but one of them was for $500,000, and that was one of the first payments of 2.4 million.
So so you received 2.4 million at the age of 34, but let's rewind. Let's go back, way back. What was it that you created, and did you ever envision it going down that path of 2.4 million?
I'm actually quite excited to talk about it. It's not that I don't talk about it that much. It's just, I'm like you, I'm quite a humble person. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but when I stop and think about it sometimes, what was the really big thing was all of the work that went, like you said, that went behind it. So I, like you, left school with nothing. I bluffed my way into university. I studied sports science, and I observed an issue within people who were joining a health club. You know, lots of them wanted to lose weight and they weren't getting what they wanted. So I became very curious about that. I've always been naturally asked questions. You know, you're paying money to join this gym, you're coming here, or you stop coming here, and you're not getting what you want. So I became extremely interested in how the body works. And the person who employed me, when he trained with me, he did not get anyone to train the way that we were training. Because the way he trained with me was seriously hard work. And he said, if you got people to do this in the gym, most people wouldn't do it. So
what year was this?
1989. Okay. So I was training physically, and I listened to him, and I understood that maybe a lot of people wouldn't train like this because it actually was quite hard work. And we all know if you want to achieve anything in life, there has to be a sacrifice, right? It's not necessarily going to be easy. It's not going to be given to you on a plate.
Yeah.
The 2.4 million, no one gave it to me. I worked extremely hard, but I never worked for that money because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that would happen. But I think hard work. Now I've learned so much, and this is what I want to share with everyone else, so you don't make the same mistakes as I did. So I realized there was a way to train, and I started using some of those ways with my clients. And still,
you mean physically train, like work out?
And it wasn't sitting on a bike for 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
It was overloading your body system. It
Yeah.
was fatiguing your muscles, right? I mean, you could lose weight on a treadmill, but you could get results much quicker by doing things differently. And it was the same with nutrition. You know, at that time, we were all eating huge amounts of carbohydrates, but people weren't losing weight. They'd stop eating fat and they still weren't losing weight. So I could see that there were changes that needed to be made there. No question about it, but there was a much bigger change because I could see people who were making those changes and still not getting results. So I thought, what about the way that we think? And I was studying psychology, not that I learned really anything from studying psychology, because it taught me what was wrong with people. And, you know, I just became very interested. How do people think about what they're doing? And I realized that most people thought very negatively. So if you ask them, what do you want? They tell you what they don't want. They tell you what the problem is. They tell you what was missing. Very few people would say, this is what I want, to the point where they could see it, right?
Slipping off my chair.
That's because
with excitement.
Yeah, it's so
This
interesting.
story.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. It really is. So then I looked at who else is working in this field of psychology with weight loss, and I couldn't find anybody to start off with. But then I found someone in America. There was a program called the Learn program, and I ended up buying this book, like a textbook, and I couldn't believe it. It came over, and I read it cover to cover, and there were lots of things in it. I thought that's really interesting, and I took it. You know, but it didn't say you couldn't. Was I plagiarizing? Possibly. I don't believe, Ben, that there's such a thing as new ideas. I think all ideas have come from somewhere else, right? So I took some of this stuff and I thought I'm going to test myself. So then I decided to start my own weight loss program. It was called Shape Up. It was a 12-week program. I started off in the gym at 9 o'clock at night because it was the only time that the gym was free. There were no seats. We sat on steps, those step aerobic things, Reebok steps. 4 people turned up. I paid £99, which was a lot of money to work with me for 12 weeks. After the first week, 1 person didn't come anymore. Then there was 3. And I kept doing it, I kept refining it. I had doctors that started referring people, I got them to get a little prescription, but the person had to pay for it, got more and more people.
So before we just transition into like what became of that, you went through a lot of hard work to set everything up.
Yeah.
But you saw a gap in the market. So to recap, 89, 1990, lots of big health club chains were opening across UK.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Lots of people were enrolling in these gyms, but then they were either not turning up or they were going to the gym and just doing cardio exercise, not addressing their nutrition and not addressing their mindset. So you saw a gap in the market,
yeah,
and you created this program called Shaping Up,
yeah,
and you started it with 3 people.
4, yeah, but then 3.
Yeah.
And I must admit, there were times where I felt like giving up. There really was, but I'm probably a bit like you, Ben. I don't know how to accept defeat. I don't know how to give up. But of course, finding something that's novel and finding a gap is really important. Mm-hmm. But just because you find that gap, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone wants it. Because let's face it, when you're talking about mindset and weight loss, that's a big thing for people because a lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to address their mind. because that means they might not be able to eat what they want to eat or live the lifestyle they want to live. But there's still a gap for it. There's no question about it, because we see that today with our weight loss program that we now have created. So it kind of took off and it took off and it took off, and then we called it Lighten Up. I was on a neurolinguistic program because I this is something else I want people to understand. If you get good at something, don't rest on your laurels. You've got to keep getting better. And I know this is something that you do with all of the social media work. You're flying off doing courses here, there, and everywhere because you know that you want to be ahead of the game, and you have to have that mentality. So I had an idea, but I thought, oh, can I get better? Can I refine my skills? So I studied neurolinguistic programming, which is a cognitive behavioral type therapy with lots of tools and techniques. I studied hypnosis, and I met a lady on that course who I told her I wanted to write a book about this, and we wrote the book together. It was called Slimming with Pete. It came out in 1999 and became a best-selling book. And then I got Random House, who are the biggest publishing house in the world, sent me a fax offering me £25,000.
What's a fax?
Yeah, what's a fax? Some people, yeah, exactly. It's an old machine, like the telegram. They offered me £25,000 for a dyslexic who didn't learn to read until he was 13 to publish his next book.
And then, how old were you roughly at this?
So that was 1999, so I was 29.
So the program, I'm guessing, had taken off. You'd gone from 3 people to how many people were turning up now? Was it still at 9 o'clock at night? How do you
I had trained a few people, others to deliver the program. We were delivering it in a few different places. We developed a franchise model, which I wasn't a massive fan of, to be honest, but that's when you would start getting involved. You make mistakes as you go along. And, this is before the internet, right? So, the internet was there, but people weren't using it in the capacity that we can use it today, like with Facebook Live and being able to host videos and YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So we were just getting results. I mean, this was the main thing. We were getting results. We were creating stories. And again, I wanted to take it to another level. So when that book came out, there was a woman called Amanda Ursel who used to review diet books in the Sunday Times. So I contacted her, just like we were talking before with, the guy that films our podcast here, Toby. He needs a mentor for the film that he's made. So we thought, who would be a good mentor? Nick Broomfield, who's a very well-known documentary filmmaker who lives in Haywards Heath. Let's call him up. It's like having the courage to do things and not think, oh, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
So I hounded this lady a little bit. That sounds a bit full on, but
because you're passionate, because
I believe in it, and she needs to.
At this point, it wasn't about money. It was just about helping.
No chance. Never about the money. The money
was a consequence of the value that you were adding.
Well, I didn't realize the value I was accumulating. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. I didn't realize what I was actually doing, which was investing into my future. Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote the book, I can't even remember what the book's called, but the whole 10,000 hours, of what it takes to dig deep into something to get better. And that's what you did. Actually, when we met, you actually started helping me for free. You came along to events because you wanted to learn. You wanted to get better. That's such an important part of the whole process. Anyway, I met with Amanda Ursel. She reviewed the diet book in the Sunday Times, and she wrote, by the end of this book, you'll be in danger of changing your eating habits, found out you're a wonderful person and lost weight. And you can imagine someone writing that in the Sunday Times. All of a sudden, it created a storm. We were running events with 200, 300, 400, 500 people. And in fact, you remind me, I remember doing an event in my 20s. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue and ME. And there'll be days where I'll be thinking, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get through this day, knowing I'm going to have 500 people for a day. But I found something in myself to go, no, I'm going to have to dig deep. I'm going to have to keep moving forwards. So I was attracting interest that I didn't even realize. And in one presentation, one of the medical directors from a large medical insurance company was in the audience.
Did you know that? Or?
No, I didn't know. And they were looking for a solution because, they're an insurance company, right? And they want to keep they don't want people to get sick, and they know if people are overweight, so they were looking for something. And I couldn't believe it. They approached us and they wanted to buy 50% of the company, which the company was valued at 2.4 million. They bought 50% and then they bought the other 50%. And
I think you just skipped over a massive part, which I think has provided a lot of value. Is you didn't know that they were in the audience, just as every interaction you have with someone new, you don't know who they are or what they're capable of.
Yeah,
and I think that's like massive as well, because
you know, we're both big fans of you know, Will Smith, who I follow on Instagram, and I heard him saying that years ago. You should treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
You know, Ben Shepherd said the same thing. We did a podcast with him recently. You know, they film how many episodes of that show, Tipping Point, you know, like 4 in a day, and they do it for like 6 weeks. He will treat everyone. You know, it's like, how much do you want success, and what price are you prepared to pay for success, or what price are you prepared to pay just to be the very best that you can be? I don't know whether this is too much for people who are listening to this about, but you know, Ben, I've learned so many lessons along the way, and I would do this massively differently to how I did it before. You know, the business sold, and I worked for this company for quite.
Let's just talk through your feelings, like. So from them approaching you to the money arriving in your bank, like how long did that take?
I don't actually remember, but I was so lucky to have a coach. You know, my coach, who coached me for 16 years, not only, I believe, did he save my wife's life with the advice that he gave, but when I showed him the contract, he looked at it and he said, "That's not a contract, that's a ball and chain." So the day the deal was supposed to go through, it was a fascinating. This is why coaching is so important.
So you pulled the deal?
Yeah,
or you negotiated?
He looked at it and he said, he just said, "That's not a contract."
How'd you get it to him? Because
so my coach lived in Dallas, Texas, originally from the Philippines, but he was here. He was staying in Peckham, of all places. And, you know, he said to me, "Why haven't you shown me the deal, the contract?" And I said, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I was an idiot. I was an absolute idiot. I really was, because I wasn't making the most of the fact that my coach, who is not just a doctor, he was very, very astute in business. And he looked at it, and I remember him coming back in the room and just shaking his head and going, "What are you going to sign this? Are you serious?" So I don't think I've ever really told this story before. He said, "Call them up and tell them that you don't want to, you need an emergency meeting." So I just took his advice, because I didn't know. I was not a business person, and I've become more of a business person, but I don't profess to be that straight, hard-talking person, which I don't think you have to be, but you need people like that in your business sometimes to make decisions, which is one of the things I think you're better than me at. So emergency meeting, went in, sat down, I said, "What is it?" And I told them, blah, 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 "I'm not happy about this, 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 and this." And they said, "Okay, we're going to leave the room." So they left the room, they went into another room. I was sitting on my own for like half an hour. They came back in and said,
"Deal's off."
No, they just came back and said, blah, 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 blah. And I said, "Hang on a second." So I said, "I'm going to leave the room." So I called up Raphael. I said, "Raphael, they're saying this, 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 and this." He says, "Right, go back and tell them that, and that. And that's why people do need solicitors. I didn't have a solicitor. We had a solicitor, but he wasn't that good. I hope he's not listening to this. I went back in, and you know, the deal was done. And I'd never done a deal like that. And if anyone's ever done a big deal with a large company, Ben, you wouldn't believe the amount of things we had to sign. I had to go back in at 9 o'clock. The deal had to be done by 12 o'clock that night. And literally for 2 or 3 hours, there was paper everywhere. We were signing. And I suppose it didn't really hit home until I actually saw that money.
Yeah.
And I made some big mistakes when I got that money.
Well, let's talk about that in a second. But so money, you got the check. Would you go down to your local NatWest, cash it in? Because the reason I'm asking these questions is because people start a business most probably because they have a skill set and they want to help people, or they create a product that can help people. And then, in the back of their mind, they also obviously want to create a better life for them and their family. And there's a magical number in business. It's like, make your first million. And you've gone from zero to like three people paying you £99 to this deal in a corporate office with a massive team and just you, to then getting this check. Like, did it arrive in the post by courier?
No. Actually, I don't remember. All I remember is tearing it off.
Yeah.
You know, to go to the bank.
It's like your lottery.
But there was a slip. There was a slip that I found, and Hannah
recently.
I actually ended up burning it because we were putting stuff to recycle and stuff we wanted to burn.
When you were moving house.
Yeah. And I put it to one side. I thought, I'm going to keep that, and I must have burned it.
Oh, okay.
Which was a shame, because otherwise I could have done a Jim Carrey, right? You know, because Jim Carrey kept a check in his wallet for 10 million, right?
Something like that.
And people thought he was mental. And then for Dumb and Dumber, he got paid 10 million, and it was round about the date. There's so many things that we can do. And I had a big problem with money, Ben. I didn't think I was worth money. I just didn't. And
so did you go and cash? You can't remember. Like, did you
well,
cash
you
the
know,
check
people think when you make that sort of money how great it is, but yeah, of course it is. But you know how much money you have to pay in capital gains. You know how much money you have to pay, the tax man.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I'd never been in this position before. No one. In fact, Raphael gave me a bit of advice about that, but I didn't listen.
Yeah.
Because money changes people, especially if you've got lottery winners. You know how much it changes them.
Well, the stats, the data tells you that.
Yeah, exactly.
They lose it, right?
It just goes. I'm just gonna.
So you got the money. What's the first thing? Did you make one big purchase, or did you go and celebrate? What, or did you just carry on as usual?
I carried on as usual, but I made some impulse buys. I gave some money to people who asked him. This is the thing. A lot of people come knocking on your door when they know you've got money. So I gave a lot of people some money who asked me, and I must have lost 70,000, 80,000 pounds by just giving money to a few people who never gave it back. I bought a 911, which was ridiculous. The 911 was a dream to me, but if I'd actually test driven one, I would have realised that the dream wasn't really a dream. I bought it when I lived in Washington, or the other part of Sussex.
You crashed it, right?
I ended up crashing it, which was with two girls in the car. They were both drunk, believe it or not, but I wasn't that stupid. I wouldn't do that. But I was trying to show them what the car could do, and people kept saying about this Porsche, watch the back end. And I was going, yeah, watch the back end. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had no idea what they were talking about until I saw the back end come round in front of me twice, and time slowed down, and I wrote this car off. But when I bought the car, I remember driving it down the road thinking, what have I just done? This is a ridiculous car. I can't even put my golf clubs in it because the boot is in the front. It's like driving a go-kart. You can feel the ground. I don't like cars like that. I made a big mistake, and I just didn't know what to do with money. But now I've got a much clearer idea of what you do with money.
But I think everyone listening or watching this can relate to maybe what you just said, is that you don't know what to do with money because you're not taught at school what to do with money. You do maths, you learn maths, but you're not actually told about how the finances in the world work, and what you should save, what you should spend. And I think a lot of society, they might earn 1,000 a month, they might earn 5,000, 10,000 a month salary, or from their business, and whatever they earn, they spend. Yeah. Because you just get stuck in that cycle.
There are some great teachers out there. I think you've done some of the stuff with the Secret of the Millionaire Mind by, what's his name?
T.
Harv Eker. He's got some really good ideas around money.
Yes or yes?
Yes, yeah, when he says, okay, does everyone agree with me? Yes or yes? No is not an option, Tony Robbins, again, he's really good at teaching people around what to do with money, and I know that's something that we'll do a podcast on that as well. But you know what? There's two things here I'd like to touch on. One is the fact, okay, I developed this great program, we made this money, but that wasn't.
Would you say you weren't happy?
No, because they didn't want to progress. They wanted to keep it as it was, and I thought, no, we need to take this to another level. And I knew the power of the internet. I really knew that was going to be a way of getting to more people, because I just wanted to get to more people. 100 million people now, but then it was, let's help a few more thousand people. So I consulted for this medical insurance company for 3 years. Then that finished, and I ended up starting another weight loss program that was called Weight Loss Guru in 2007. And that pretty much also, Ben, was another 10 years of online. And we didn't make huge amounts of money from that, but we helped a lot of people. I had to develop the money mindset, And now with what we've done, we've now taken that weight loss program to another level. And we have a better program than ever. But just because you have a great program, it's all the marketing, where the skill comes in, right?
Yeah. But it's evolved from the 3 people on the gym floor to what it is today.
What it is today is an unbelievable program that people can access whenever they want. It's easy, it's simple. We've got a community of amazing people. We've got ambassadors. And if anyone wants to lose weight, I defy them to say, well, find a better program than the program we have now. And I think, well, what is your program? Well, it's the accumulation of what 1989. It's 30 years,
Yeah.
right? In 2 years' time. No, next year. It's 30 years of work of taking something, evolving it like a recipe, making it better and better and better, so that when you taste it, you know the results that you get are better than ever. Because I'm just into getting better. I'm into growth.
You should probably just give out the URL of the weight loss.
Absolutely. You know, if anyone is interested, even just looking at the marketing which you've created.
It's probably the slickest marketing ever.
Well, again, it's years of
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
right? So people can look at it from that point of view and see what we've done. Or, you know, if you're the sort of person that wants to lose weight or want to devise your own weight loss program, look at what we've done, you know, as long as you don't copy it. But then, you know, like I said, no ideas are.
What's the URL?
It is my365.me/challenge. It's mi365.me/challenge.
So going back to finances and money and everything around what we've talked about, what advice would you like to give to the listeners, the people watching this on video?
Yeah, okay, so there's definitely a few things. One of them is what I call the Nexus Point. And it's we spoke about this when I came and spoke to your fitness professionals from your fitness marketing business. And it's ask 3 questions. What do you love to do? Okay, so me, what do I love to do? I love to help people. It's just, I love to do. What does the world need? The world definitely needs people like me to show up and help people. And what do I love to do? What am I good at? And what does the world need? So if you think of that as 3 circles, and you put those circles together, in the middle, that's the Nexus Point. And I believe if people could build a business where it is what they love to do, they're good at it, and it's what the world needs, then you could really do something incredible. Because if you enjoy what you do and there's a need for it, that's the first thing. The second thing is if I was doing this all over again, I would believe bigger and I'd believe faster. I didn't believe. And what believe means is you see it. You see where you're going. I didn't see where I was going. Now I see it. And we made 2 million before. We'll make a lot more than 2 million. We'll make hundreds of millions. And what we'll do with that money is we'll go and buy a whole fleet of Porsches. No.
And write them all off at once.
Write them all off at the same time. No, we're going to help people and build. So believe bigger, believe faster, find the Nexus Point. What else did I write down here? You have the courage to commit. We spoke about this on our live broadcast this morning. Commit means when you say, this is what I'm doing, you unite with where you're going, but it's recommitting. Every day you recommit to what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll give in to impulsivity and in delay. And then lastly, Ben, is get yourself a group of people that can help you and guide you and work with you. And again, I know that's something that you do extremely well with some of the businesses that you have. You know, we need other people to help us. And I couldn't have done this without other people.
So my last question, if I was to slide 2.4 million check across the table right now, what would you do differently from back then?
I would invest the money immediately.
To do what?
To invest a lot of it into my existing business. With you, actually. I would definitely into the infrastructure of the business. I would just save a large amount. I'd sit down with an accountant and really work out, okay, what's the best use that we can do with this money? Put some monies into some savings, but just be wise, not rush. You know, most of you can probably tell I rush, make impulsive decisions where you're more, well, hang on, before we go forwards, let's just stay where we are and think this through.
Because I think you're quite simple in terms of like living. Like you don't wear flash designer clothes. You don't have I don't even know if you have a watch. I don't think you do.
I do, but I don't wear it. Someone gave me a very expensive watch.
But yeah, so it's not like you would go out and buy like, you know, all designer clothes and flash things and stuff like that. So, you know, I think what we're not accountants and you know that, and we're not financial advisors. We're just talking about our experience. So I think, you know, getting the correct financial advice is crucial.
Just on that is that the extrinsic stuff is great, you know, the watches, the cars and all that stuff. People enjoy that, but for me it's the intrinsic thing of look at the difference we're making to people.
Yeah.
So, you know, you came to me with an idea, and intrinsically what we've done with that idea is unbelievable, but we've only just got started. And it's much more rewarding, I think, where maybe you've got extrinsic and, you've written the dream board, the vision board. That's all great.
Yeah.
But there's a much bigger piece here.
I think in the business world, it's very easy to get sidetracked and get distracted by others that go and buy shiny objects like fast cars, Lamborghinis, expensive holidays, clothes. But in reality, if you go on Lamborghini's website, you can probably lease a Lamborghini from anywhere from 1,000 up to 5,000 a month. And you could do that tomorrow. I could do that tomorrow, but we just wouldn't pay our mortgage or rent. And I think a lot of business owners they go and buy these things on lease to give the impression that they're super successful. When in reality, they're maybe a little bit lost because of. I'm pointing right now to a piece of paper where Pete's drawn out the Nexus Point because they're buying these shiny objects to, because maybe they're just lost in terms of what they've had success, but they maybe just don't know what to do to go to the next level to help more people.
I think so many people do get success and then they rest. I've seen that with a few of the fitness business owners that you have. They achieve so much more than what anyone else does, but they still haven't got to that point where...
Professional athletes as well, like they go and win the league, the title, the championship, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
Like same with musicians. Their first album is like the best album ever, and then they can never ever get back to that level of creating a second. Like Ed Sheeran, for instance, he's one person who has created an awesome album, then he's created another, and he's created another. But other artists, they create that one album, and then you never hear from them again.
I wouldn't say money is the root of all evil. I wouldn't say it was the root of all evil, but it can definitely change people. And if you do something for the love of it, I'm writing a book, as you know, at the moment about leadership, and I was speaking to someone about that yesterday, and he said the secret weapon of a leader is love. You just love what you do, you love to grow, you love to learn. So there's nothing wrong with those extrinsic things. And you're a humble person as well. It'd be great to talk to you sometime about what you did, because you were a fitness instructor in a gym. You came up with an idea, you worked with someone, and you did. I saw what you did because you asked me to help, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So we'd love to know what you've taken away from this podcast, and we're launching something in September, which Ben has been wanting to do for some time, and I'm very, very excited about this. And we're going to be working with a small group of people, a business mastermind that we're going to launch in September.
Yeah, so for me, as I said on the very first business podcast that we did, it's not your technical skill set that gets you to the next level. It's the strategy piece and it's the mindset piece, most importantly, because the stronger the mindset, the stronger the business owner. And we want to specifically help business owners with the mindset piece, with the purpose, with the vision, and everything that comes with that. And
it's going to be unbelievable. It's if people want to register for that, it's my365.me/business. That's mi365.me/business.
There's not much to see. Just register your details, and when we bring this out in September, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, and it's going to be very, very exciting for anyone that wants to not just benefit from our combined experience, but building a community of people who want to work together in building that could be a multi-billion dollar business. So we appreciate you. What's your biggest learning? What's your biggest takeaway from this podcast? Feel free to share it. If you're watching this or on YouTube, make a comment. If you're watching this on our My365 podcast page, make a comment, share it. If you're listening to this on iTunes, make a comment. Again, share it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time and your attention, and we will see you next time for another My365 podcast. It's a goodbye from me, and it's a goodbye from
Ben.
Bye-bye.